Zoti Bejli, Maqedonia mori ftesë për antarësim në NATO, por me kusht. Çfarë do të thotë kjo ftesë për Maqedoninë në aspektin e sigurisë?
Macedonia received an invitation to start accession talks with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's a big, huge development for this country. That's how the accession process begins for any aspirant NATO member. It begins with an invitation to begin accession talks that usually lists for any aspirant a number of outstanding issues, reforms that the member would complete as they're going through the accession process. For Macedonia, that means implementation of the Prespa agreement, but the process is the same process for any member state, for Albania, for Montenegro, for the previous states that have joined NATO. So it's a real invitation.
Dhe çfarë do të thotë ftesa për Maqedoninë në aspektin e sigurisë?
Well, I think from the security aspect, the invitation to NATO means that Macedonia has the opportunity to join the world's foremost security alliance. I think this will support Macedonia's security, its stability. Both of those things contribute over the long term to economic prosperity. So I think this is a very important step for Macedonia. It's one that's been supported by 75% of this country's citizens. And so this is a big, important development. This will also improve regional security. This is something my country supports because our security is invariably linked to security in Europe.
Ndërkohë, si mendoni se do të reflektohet antarësimi I Maqedonisë në NATO ndaj marrëdhënieve ndërretnike?
Well, I think on the issue of inter-ethnic tensions, I don't think this discussion about Macedonia's membership in NATO and the issue of the agreement with Greece should involve inter-ethnic tensions. These are decisions for all the citizens of this country to engage in and to decide. You know, there will be people who will exploit incidents and maybe try to build an inter-ethnic conflict out of that. You have the terrible, tragic death of Nikola Stavdovsky the other day. There's no place for such violence in this kind of environment. People should remain peaceful. The perpetrators of that act should be brought to justice. And so I think what's important now is for people not to be drawn into the discourse of inter-ethnic conflict and to come together as citizens and have a healthy, open debate. Not everyone will agree. That's normal in a democracy. But a healthy, open debate that can help the country decide on its future. That's what's needed right now.
Ndërkohë, Maqedonia, zoti ambasador, ndodhet përpara referendumit. Antarësimi në NATO varet nga suksesi I referendumit që do të mbahet këtë vjesht. Mendoni se vendi ka të themi potencial demokratik që ta kalojë këtë sfidë?
Absolutely. I don't think Macedonia would be being offered membership into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization if it didn't have the ability to overcome this challenge. Being a functioning, healthy democracy is part of being a NATO member. So I'm fully confident that the leaders of the country, the institutions of the country, and the citizens of the country can come together and make a decision. And I think they will, in the end, choose a future in NATO and the European Union.
VMRO DPMN-ja ende nuk e ka të qartë pozicionin e saj politik sa I përket referendumit, edhe pse vite me radhë ka kërkuar referendum për çështjen e emrit. Si pritni që kjo parti të sillet në referendumin e vjeshtës kur dihet se VMRO-ja thotë se me marrëveshjen me Greqinë ka kapituluar Maqedonia?
Well, I think right now the citizens of this country, no matter what party they're in, no matter what community they belong to, have the ability to decide their future. On the one hand, they can support the agreement with Greece, which opens up the possibility of membership in the European Union and will lead to membership in NATO. Those are real things. It's a real decision to make now. In the past, VMRO has, in private conversations with me, in public forum, has been a strong supporter of Macedonia's Euro-Atlantic integration. At the same time, they have some problems with the name agreement. Individuals are going to have to decide what is important to the future of their country. That should be done in a democratic manner. And it's for all communities, all parties to decide. So I understand that this is a difficult decision, but in the end, it's a decision between supporting the agreement on the name and moving forward with NATO membership, EU talks, or staying in the current situation.
Dhe nëse VMRO DPMN-ja kërkon zgjedhje të parakohshme parlamentare sipas modelit të Përzhinos, mendoni se duhet të pranohet me kushtin që VMRO DPMN-ja të marrë pjesë në referendum?
Look, that's a political decision that the parties are going to come to in Parliament. Parliament will have to set the conditions for the referendum. That involves a certain amount of politics. I'll let them decide what is most important. But I do think it's important that the referendum go forward, that the process start, so that there's time to make adequate preparations and that the decision can be made and keep in line with the commitments that the government of Macedonia has made under the PRESPA agreement to allow the agreement to go to ratification in Greece, to allow the signing of the ratification of NATO membership to begin as well. So I think it's important to come to a decision on those issues and then move on with the referendum.
Zoti ambasador, apo luftohet korrupsioni dhe krimi organizuar në nivelin e duhur në Maqedoni?
I think I've been pretty outspoken about the issue of the need to battle corruption. That is not something that happens overnight. Establishing the rule of law, establishing accountability for corruption or any other kinds of crimes is an important for Macedonia to move forward, for its citizens to enjoy the rule of law. That's part of the membership in NATO. It's part of the membership in the European Union. I've said before that in a country with weak rule of law and corruption, it is vulnerable. It's vulnerable from a security perspective. So it's important to address those issues. There are measures that can be taken in institutions, but it's also important that individuals decide their own behavior. At the end of the day, this comes down to personal integrity that no institution control. People have a choice whether to pay a bribe or to accept a bribe. Those are individual choices, and institutions can regulate that, but personal integrity is a very key part of that.
A ka nevojë temi Maqedonia për një vetting siç ndodh në Shqipëri?
Look, Macedonia has set out as part of its EU negotiations a judicial strategy for dealing with issues of appointments of judges, discipline of judges, and those kinds of things. This is both countries, Macedonia and Albania, have issues with regard to rule of law. They are different countries, they have different issues, so I don't think it's a matter of one solution fits both countries. So I think the government has identified a strategy that has to go forward, and we'll see how that works going forward.
Për fund, zoti ambasador, ku e shihni Maqedoninë themi pas një viti?
Well, I hope to see Macedonia as the Republic of Northern Macedonia as the 30th member of NATO. I think that's important because many people in this country feel a certain nervousness about the country's future. Some even say, oh, we worry about being divided or things like this. And I think this is an opportunity to step back and look at the history of the last 100 years, at the problems, sometimes violence, issues with Bulgaria, with Albania, with Greece. Now you have the opportunity to take these neighbors and they become your allies. And that means they are committed to your territorial integrity, to your sovereignty, and you to theirs as well. So I think that is a big change for this region if you compare it, say, over the course of the last century.
Zoti ambasadori, faleminderit që pranuat ftesën për të bërë intervistë në Alsat.